Hey guys, welcome to another commentary done by Diggity. This is BSL 20 Hasuleague. Third and fourth place matchup are in corner. We have Yuey starting as the green Zerg. Bottom right in corner we have Gosufer starting as the purple Protoss. This starting game will be on Polestar. These guys ended up playing each other in the Swiss round. Gosufer was the victor in there. I do believe this counts. By the way, usually third and fourth place, it's like, oh, who cares? Or, you know, maybe there's a little bit of money on the line. In this instance, I believe there is some variation as far as seeding, because I believe that the top four players have something happens where they actually move up into Hasuleague or something along those lines after this. So that I think I'll have to look at the BSL page again to kind of look at how it's all melding together. But effectively, there is a method to go from if you win Chobo League, you go to Hasuleague, you win Hasuleague, you move up to Gosuleague, you win Gosuleague, you go up to Pro League to kind of incentivize the climb, which I actually like quite a bit. So, and I think that's especially helpful to avoid it. How do I put this? The latter stage of BSL is likely the hardest part for all of these guys, doing all the grinding to go ahead and make their way through. And so being able to be seeded very early has got to be great and potentially a big relief, honestly. Anyway, Probe making its way top right hand corner. We also have Yuey has his Overlord making its way bottom right. He went for a 9 pool and went for the drone trick, which I didn't check with the extractor here, to go ahead and surge him up to 10 drones. So he is going to have Zerglings right off the bat, and that's going to cause Gosufer to maybe have a bit of a rude awakening with the gateway. He's tracing after the, oh man, this could be bad for Gosufer actually. So he's chasing after the drone, presuming that the drone was going to go for a hatchery. Yuey's getting aggressive actually with that drone and acting as though he's planting down the hatchery to draw that probe away from scouting the main. And we got 6 Zerglings being built, and I'm not sure that Gosufer has eyes as of yet. So Yuey has made his way over the gateway, sees that there's the positioning. You'll be able to see the gateway, or the zealot as it spawns, and the Zerglings are going to be on their way. And I'm not sure that Gosufer, let's see if he queues up the second zealot instead of getting some additional fluff. Yeah, he's got the second zealot queued currently and is run. Okay, now the probe recognizes getting surrounded by those Zerglings, but now potentially is going to desire a probe pull. I will state there's a little bit of a comeback maneuver on Polestar, where what you can do with one of the zealots here is draw it back to this line here and blockade it a little bit easier than you'd be able to otherwise. You positioning that Overlord to kind of get full view. Forge dropped, Zergling scattering through, surrounding that zealot very, very rapidly and getting some damage, but Yuey, I don't think, yeah, I think this is now tight. Is trying, ooh, actually is able to force the probe back. The probe wasn't on a hold position with the zealot. The probe trying to blockade is actually slowed down the Zerglings slightly, but we have 5 Zerglings that have managed to make their way through. A pylon dropped to try to disrupt the Zerglings AI briefly, but now getting a cannon down in the main might be priority. Yuey getting some damage done. Lost 2 Zerglings, which is actually a significant hit, and is mixing up along the probe line, so is able, oh man, nice blockade there by Gosufer. Wonderful probe drill, which is saving him a lot of headache. 2 additional hatcheries dropped in the midst of this, 2 zealots making the way out now, and now Yuey's got some ground to recover here, because the zealots, I'm very confident in Gosufer, move them out after the Zerglings had already penetrated the main base, maybe as a distraction measure, but now Yuey, where he wanted to try to search the drones, is going to be relegated to building a lot of Zerglings to deal with the zealots here, and it's going to hinder his early game economy. And then after that, it's going to be a foot race potentially to airplay. We also have the second Nexus getting dropped in the midst of this. I'm looking to see if there's a cybernetics core dropped as well. 4 zealots storming up to the front. Gosufer continuing to apply the pressure. Zerglings getting a pretty good slice and dice surrounds, but I don't think the raw Zergling count was such that it was going to be able to take out these zealots. Although, as I say that, the zealots absolutely melting, and while there's a handful of damaged Zerglings, I take back that statement. I think I undercounted the amount of Zerglings there. The Zerglings pushing up. This is now, usually it's what, 3 or 4, so 6 can technically take out 2 zealots in good positioning and trading, but more often you want 4 Zerglings per zealot to get the straight up even trade. Overlord going to take a few free shots from the cannon as it's cycling its way out. Cybernetic core has already started, and a Hydro Extend getting plopped down from Yuey. If he wasn't intending on going for Hydro play, he's certainly forced into it because of the early game. finally droning up at this stage. Some Zerglings maintaining position. There's still a pretty solid Zealot count, honestly, for Gosufer after all of this has continued producing out of that gateway. Another cannon dropped just in case there was a Zergling flood. Right now he doesn't have a lot of information. Moving the Zealots out to go ahead and glean what information he can. Almost gets a Zergling kill. Overlord going to position to keep an eye on the two Zealots as they field out. The rest of the Zealots being held back, I think intentionally here from Gosufer, just in case there was a Zergling run by. And just wanted to see, he just wanted to bully his way up to see if some Zerglings or additional units were staged forward to see whether it was a bust or not. In the meantime, we are potentially going to see a Hydralisk bust turnaround for Yuey. Yuey, I will say, when I've seen him in trouble situations, rather than stabilizing, oftentimes he will try to pull the trigger on more aggressive Hydralisk play as far as a follow-up. So right now, starting to build the Hydralisks, they might be needed to deal with the Zealots that are on the map. Citadel of Adun? No, we got a Stargate in the midst of this. We do have one injured Overlord here near that 3 o'clock location. Might be pickable. The Zealots have gotten all the way to the natural expansion. The Zerglings screening back. I thought more Hydralisks would be completed by now. So gonna get some shots on the hatchery. Yuey, natural expansion being evacuated with the drones. Now that the Hydralisks are out, the Zerglings and everything else cycling back away. The drones gonna try to fight as well. One drone falls. The Zealots are getting cleaned up though. In the midst of this, a bit of scatter fire. The Zealots still trying to get a drone shot in the midst of this. One drone is in fact exposed on the low ground, but target priority goes to Hydrals first. So the Zealots cleaned up. Goes for expending a lot of that attack force, but also buying himself some time. And he saw the Hydralisk pop, so potentially might want to drop a third cannon at least, because a lot of Hydralisks are going to be here in a hurry, and he doesn't have a lot of Zealots to contend. Instead, it looks like he opted for the Gateway Flood ahead of this. Also dropped the Citadel of Adun, but he's going to have to deal with the Hydra bust. Zealot getting picked off on the low ground. Range not quite finished. Said Hydralisk speed, goes for dropping emergency cannons. But honestly, I think this is a little bit too late, but I don't think Yuey has keyed in on how few the cannons are. So he's waiting on range. He still might be able to sneak in and snipe. He might have been able to win it right there, because those two cannons would have fallen very, very rapidly. Unfortunate for Yuey here, missing a bit of an opportunity, I think. The Gateway taking some damage at range. It looks like +1 weapons will likely be picked off as well. 6 cannons up, that'll keep Gosufer alive, but it'll be a minute before he has map presence once again, starting to build those Zealots. Somehow, it looks like, okay, a Zealot I thought got in here. I heard a Zealot strike right there. Somehow got on the map. We do have a Corsair trying to be aggressive, at least scouting the push to lair. That's where the Zealot was. Wow. Sorry I missed that. I don't even know how that Zealot got out there, to be honest. It must have exited much, much earlier. Forge has been wiped out in the midst of this. I believe, okay, so Yuey actually exited a lot of these drones to the natural here. After that Zealot attack, I missed a handful of the drones getting attacked. Apologies, I just don't know how the Zealots got out on the map. We'll have to go back on the replay and check it out. Double Forge in the meantime for Gosufer, Templar Archives, the rest of the tech filling in. Wants to try to get a tech jump on Yuey. I don't think Yuey even has an evolution chamber yet. So certainly going to, yeah, dropping the evolution chamber just now. So Gosufer certainly, with his Gateway Flood and initial 2 upgrades, is going to have a stronger base army in comparison to his opponent, and should be able to break out with that. In the meantime, Yuey on delay at the 9-minute mark, going ahead and making his way to the 5 hatcheries, and also upgrading lurkers. So the question will be on the follow-up here. Yuey is going to have an opportunity, maybe, never mind, Gosufer marching out with the Zealots as soon as speed is finished. Doesn't have +1, but wants to push these Hydralisks back. These Zealots almost feel feistier than usual. I almost feel like I'm looking at this at slightly faster speeds. More Zealots fanning out, trying to get a surround. Wanting to make sure that it's a little bit more challenging for Yuey to try to get a base surround. And it looks like the Hydralisks are going to draw back, and the Zealots now open and free on the map. The question is, where do they go? Yuey trying to trail them to try to figure out whether they're headed to the natural expansion or the 12 o'clock location. Looks like they are going to careen into the 12 o'clock. Sunken Colony's on the way, but they're too late. The Zealot's certainly going to be able to wipe out the drones here. Let's see if they get bonus on top of it. One Zealot working on the hatchery. Looks like they're going to try to focus down the interior hatchery while the drones are feeling the drones recognize the attack. One drone actually getting a kill right there. Trying to slow down the Zealots. Hatchery's gone. Great damage from Gosufer. Also, amazing decision making. So that's going to slow down a lot of mining at location. Granted, the mining's still going to happen, but you can see where it's going to be at these delayed hatchery locations. So kind of scatters and makes this less of an effective base than it usually would be. Plus the hatchery and all of the larvae lost. High Templar have a solid amount of energy in the meantime. And we're very close to +1 weapons, +1 armor finishing. This is going to be well ahead of +1 for the Hydralisk drones joining the fight. I think this is a bad rally making its way. I think Yuey looking to regather and try to seal his opponent in. Supply counts are even, which is usually a bad indicator for Protoss. More lurker eggs morphing. It might be a little bit equalized to go for surging ahead briefly in 10 supply. This might be equalized a bit, 1 by Sidestorm, 2 by those weapon upgrades that should continue to surge. +1 weapon, +1 armor, and that's as Yuey has not quite been able to establish on that front. I'm wondering, we do have the robotics facility. I don't see an observer out on the map as of yet. We do have the observatory, but I don't see an observer right this second. Corsair looked like it wanted to scout in the top right, almost wondering if that was a drop, honestly, given the aggression of Gosufer thus far. Yuey pressing forward, a nice triangle attack, hitting the Zealots. Kind of a nice strike position and allowing the Hydrals to do in between, but this is also very Sidestormable. I need to figure out a different word for that. The units are really bunched up, and Gosufer, seeing a pocket for an attack to move out, is in fact opting to do so. Is going to remain with keep the High Templar back to deal with Sidestorm just in case there's a counterattack, but might return to this 12 o'clock location to wreak more havoc out on the map. We also have a Corsair just scouting exterior corners. One lurker dies as it's not able to burrow. This is no obs assistance, but there's no lurkers here as well. And in Incredible Sim City, more drones being wiped out. And while there's a distractionary attack, is Gosufer going to use the opportunity, waiting to see if he moves forward and drops some Sidestorm on the front. The Zealot's getting cleaned up much more effectively this time. They are going to get a Sunken Colony. Doesn't look like they're going to get a lot of drones in the midst of this. But Gosufer also walking forward with the Dragoons while Yuey's distracted. Was looking for some Sidestorms to drop in the midst of that as well. Now the Sidestorm's dropping, catching a lot. Gosufer all over the map. Really keeping Yuey taxed. And that will open up the front. So Yuey's containment going to drop. There's a bit of delay for Gosufer on the additional upgrade advantage on the double forge, so not getting full value there. And so it looks like Yuey is going to be able to hit +2 weapons. The Zealot's still active here at the 12 o'clock location, working on the drone line. 7 kills on this Zealot, by the way. So Yuey thought that was cleared up, checked bottom right, that was cleared up, and in the meantime still had some damage done at the 12 o'clock location. Gosufer playing ferociously, honestly. 6 o'clock location being built. Yuey able to sneak underneath. Emergency Sidestorm to try to clear these Hydralisks. Yuey doing a great job of weaving in and out, forcing out the Sidestorms. This is before +2 weapons is in play, so loses a handful of Hydralisks for effectively 3 High Templar. Nice play right there, but the 12 o'clock is under assault. Another creep colony getting dropped. Gosufer at near corner has queued up the +2 on both ends and is now pushing into the 12 o'clock location. And there's only a single lurker to try to defend this location and a minuscule Hydralisk force. This is also extreme location for Sidestorm, although there's only a single High Templar remaining and he's out of energy. Dragoons trying to barricade away. There is no observer with this attack force, by the way. Or sorry, the observer is out of position with the attack force to deal with the lurkers coming for reinforcements. So this is potentially 3 dead hatcheries at the 12 o'clock location. If that comes to pass, that should be game. honestly. Yeah, that's GG from you. He recognized he's going to lose it. He did force a cancellation, but honestly, Gosufer all over the map. And just really, really, I gotta say, impressive play from Gosufer in game one. Excellent play from him. Excellent play. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Thanks for listening.